Hey guys. All right, so let's kind of continue here. I think the easiest way I'm going to do this, I sort of changed my mind on the break, but let's just go through sort of planet by planet. So the Sun Moon opposition, obviously, that's our full moon. The moon, as I've been talking about, moving past Saturn, that planet that kind of represents in this incarnation obligations that we have. And then Pluto, which is like the obligations we have on more of a soul level, this area of you do your Saturn, which means if you're disciplined, if you bite the bullet, if you do your work first and then your play later, right? Eat your vegetables first, then have your dessert. Saturn is pretty great. Like I've learned this lately, ever since I stopped drinking. I don't, I go hang out with friends, and I still go hang. Well, they'll go party, and I'm with them and having fun and like laughing at everybody, and it's a good time. But and then the next day, I feel great. I don't have a hangover. Everyone's like so sick and feeling crappy, and I'm just like, wow, and I can remember everything from last night. And anyway, Saturn, in the moment, I really want to drink, right? Like I want to have fun with my friends and do the same thing. But Saturn says have some wisdom. It's tied to maturity, tied to time, the fact that you've lived enough to know that if you do this, this is going to happen as a consequence. Okay, so having Saturn there and then Pluto, which is this deeper Pluto and Capricorn, where in the past, in your past lives, have you been hurt by the rules or the laws of the land? Like what society said you were supposed to do, or else you were not a fit citizen of the world. Okay, so this can vary, obviously. But what I was saying about the witch trial, that was a time we had Pluto was in the sign of Cancer. Pluto, the death and rebirth. In the sign of Cancer, the mother, the woman, the witch. Okay, the feminine, and even you can think of it as sort of the goddess, the goddess principle, the feminine, female, divine principle. So now that Pluto's a Capricorn, what's happening? The death of the patriarchy. We're experiencing, sadly, people who were born kind of in the 90s, and I see this, I just talked to another person last night, all of these young girls that were born like in the 90s are dating men that are much older, and the men that are the same age seem so young. There's back in the day, even just 100 years ago, I mean, with Boy Scouts, men had these like initiations, or there was the military, or you took the family farm on, and then you had to be responsible for it. Nowadays, we are missing that initial coming of age experience or ritual, and so both men and women are hungry for they're trying to figure themselves out. Like, who am I? What does it mean to be female? What does it mean to be male? What is it, And then, of course, I'm just talking cisgender people. So with the South Node in Pluto and Capricorn, right? But Pluto also in Capricorn. This to me says all of those times the patriarchy took advantage of its power in order to accumulate more power, wealth, etc., right? Influence by hurting others, so it's like the sins of the fathers. That's what's right now coming to the surface to be cleansed, to be released, to be fixed and made whole again, right? Okay, so I think especially with this full moon, why I say it's the pivot point is it is very personal. It's really personal. We're moving towards Venus and Sun, away from this ugly kind of controlling, what's the word? Almost like authoritarian, domineering sort of place of the patriarchy in the past, or even in your own life when you felt under the thumb of the rules of your parents or society, teachers, whatever. We're moving towards Venus in Cancer. Venus is how have you learned to behave socially with other people? What's your social function look like? Are you good with people? What is it that you find valuable and beautiful, and what is it that brings pleasure into your life? Social interactions with other humans, obviously, friendships, romantic relationships are, for most people, enjoyable. So, but when Venus is a Cancer, that very personal sign of Cancer, and also emotionally reactive sign of Cancer, the tendency is to really need to feel like I'm at home. I feel comfortable. I feel safe. I might even be a little bit more hesitant or shy about asserting myself right now. I say this, but at the same time, we have a Mars conjunct Mercury in Leo. And Mercury, of course, is retrograde. So there can be conversations between people that pop up straight from ego, from this place of I know better, or I'm feeling overlooked, or just I'm feeling ignored, or this relationship just isn't working for me. That would be the healthy higher side to kind of go to reflect and go, okay, is this really this business or this job or this relationship? Is this circumstance something that speaks to me on an inner level? Do I feel safe? Do I feel like I can just be myself? Do I feel like I can really blossom like at this new job? Am I feeling a sense of do I betray myself? As far as what I'm really, really wanting. I talked to so many girls this weekend, just different friends and stuff, about dating and them just kind of pulling away from dating for a little bit to get some clarity about their patterns and what it is they're really wanting. And I mean, it's amazing. Most people, they'll stop dating for maybe like 2 weeks or something. That's nothing. That's not even like a moon cycle. Like if you really want to take advantage of, which really is my camera cell phone. If you're really wanting to take advantage of the astrology, at least take off this month, the month of July. If you're wanting to rethink relationships or career, or any big choice you have to make for this year, this is a good month to do your own thing for a little bit, okay? But you need quiet. It's like the moon being in Capricorn has this hermity quality to it, you got to go inward. You need to control yourself. If you feel like you had something happen this last few days where you want to call your boyfriend or you want to sort of have a conversation, if you're feeling this sense of we need to talk about this, we do have a square from Uranus to Mercury and to Mars, which means that's like when conversations just come out, where someone just messages you, or there's out of the blue, you get a text message on accident that somebody typed but they didn't mean to send, that kind of stuff with the Mercury retrograde. So I think at the heart of it, and then this is the last thing I'm probably going to say, and then I'll wrap this up, is this is a full moon that has to do with you figuring out your truth. And do you tell people, have you always said my favorite color is blue, but you've really not thought about it since you were like 10 years old? And then when you reflect and you go, oh, actually, you know what? I love the color chartreuse. And this new, I've liked it for the last 2 years. And I never really thought, oh yeah, I can change my favorite color. If there's a hobby you wanted to pick up, if there's something that if you don't know what you enjoy doing, which is always funny to me because as a Libra and a Venus first house person, I'm always like, I have the opposite problem. I'm sun square Jupiter. I'm always like, oh, this is fun. I love it. I have lots of things I like to do that waste time. But if you're someone who's more of a focused hard worker, this moon in Capricorn will help you find something productive, but that's also can maybe distract you from, if you've got a relationship that recently broke up, if you have something at work that's stressing you out, it's kind of like you need something to rein in the emotional tendency to want to say something or have a conversation with your partner that might actually end up being not so positive right now. Now, if you have someone who comes to you in the deep chart, there's a Mercury-Mars conjunction. It's in Gemini, though. So this could be words coming out of both sides of someone's mouth. This can be forming, let me see, it's also, we've got, looks like there's a square to Uranus. To me, it feels like these are conversations that you kind of, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, Also could be a time where people do some things, maybe even sexually with partners, because there's a Mars-Uranus square. This can be where we're promiscuous, or we can have sex with someone we don't even know, or we can, Uranus in the 6th house. I mean, it does make me think of as well, finding someone at work, love some sort of romance at work, or issues that have to do, though, with I want to feel free to do what it is I'm wanting to do, but yet understanding the line, if you have other people in your life, like if you have a partner, that there is, that your actions have consequences. And if you have a sacred, intimate partner, and then you're cheating on them, or you're talking with someone else even, just spreading your energy elsewhere in a way that's meant, you know what I mean, if there's that intention underneath it, if there's any kind of secrecy here, this moon kind of is like, let's get real here, you know? Are you happy with being that version of yourself? Because that's kind of a shitty version where you're being selfish and, you know, don't be in a relationship because you're everyone gets hurt with that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And then I also kind of feel like with Mercury being in Gemini, which is Mercury's natural, you know, sign, but also conjunct Mars. And remember, this is in the deep chart. And these two planets are in Leo in the tropical chart, which has to do with ego, the self, self-expression, needing to say something, right? Like needing to be right, needing to be the boss. It has this, I'm going to do my own thing, feel to it. But with it also being in Gemini, needing to speak and say my own thing, you know, needing to feel heard, needing to feel like I don't really give a damn. He or she needs to hear what I have to say. And it can also be a time where we get a little tricky, where we try to play some games. Big time. I mean, think of that. Big time game playing, okay? And because you've also got the full moon opposite these planets, though, it's like you're I mean, especially more so even tomorrow, there's an irrationality to the game playing. It's like for what reason are we doing this? And yet I can see a lot of people, progress moon with it being a Sag, emotionally feeling, not progress moon, I'm sorry, deep chart moon, feeling justified. So like I say these things, but I also know people are just going to kind of go do what they want to do. In particular, in the next like 2 days, I would say. So, see if there's anything else in here that's really standing out to me, and then I'll wrap this up for you guys. Just to recap. Overall, remember, this is every rose has its thorn, so your job is to figure out what the thorn is and to pull it out of your foot, out of your paw. And maybe it's not the best metaphor, but what so far this year has hurt you? What's something this year that's, even if it's like a thorn still stuck in you, why are you carrying around something that's hurting you? Why don't you pull it out? If you have something in your life that you know, whether it's like an addiction to a drug or a drink or a person or what have you, our society is so addicted. It could be like your phone. It could be, I love Pinterest. I need to I need an intervention for Pinterest. Whatever it is, this is sort of saying take some time away from all those distractions so that you can feel what's happening inside of you, and so you can recognize the truth of what it is your heart and your inner intuition is trying to tell you about decisions you've made in the past and areas where you need to do better. Where, you know, so definitely time for you to take your inventory. Now, last thing I'll say, what may happen with this full moon is a tendency to want to not take your own inventory, but to a lot of shadow material coming out. You know, seeing it in other people, seeing stuff in other people that's really annoying you, or gossiping about other people. A little pot stirring happening as well with Uranus square. So if you're feeling tempted to call someone or to blab about someone else, or even if it's like Donald Trump or politics, or you want to get in a fight with someone, not really a good time to do it. And in fact, it's telling you you need to reflect and look at what is it about that person that's really bothering you. And then you need to think of the positive side of those traits, okay? And recognize that those are probably things you yourself need to work on and do a better job at being. Sometimes we resent people, you know, when they're doing something and we'll place a moral judgment on it, because actually there's a big part of us that wants to be doing the same thing. Okay. So I think my final, this is the final takeaway. This month, don't try to push anything through. Don't stress out about needing to have total control over how July goes down. It's a wild card month. It is a month that's pivotal. At the end of the month, as long as you have been asking yourself on a daily basis, is this really what I'm wanting to do right now? Is this, and I mean, use self-discipline. You have to go to work, you know, that kind of thing. But is this relationship that I started dating this person, you know, and there's a few little red flags. Am I being honest with myself about what I'm seeing? Or is this just repeating patterns I've already been hurt by in the past? Okay, so this is kind of the focus right now. You go inside of yourself and reflect in particular on your behavior in your relationships, friendships, business relationships, and in your love life. And yeah, what is it that you get into relationships for in the first place? And yeah, that's about all I have to say on it. So if any of you guys want to come over to the website, you can come over and sign up for a birth chart reading or a forecast. I am pretty booked out right now, but still, there's some spots on there. And I think I think the flash sale may still be up as well. So you can take advantage of the fact that I'm a horrible secretary to myself. So I'll look forward to working with you guys, and take care.